Welcome to Talking Technology with NCBI Labs, where we believe that technology is the single greatest enabler for people with sight loss and all disabilities. If you are interested in the latest technology news, products, and innovations, then you've come to the right place.
Yes, indeed you have. Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Technology, episode 41, our first episode of October 2023. Yes, September, the crazy technology month that was September, has come to a close. We had so many technology announcements in September. We had ones from Apple, we had Amazon, we had Microsoft. There was so much stuff going on. And we're just out of October and we're just out of September, I should say. And I'm reading this morning that apparently there's now rumours that Apple weren't satisfied just taking over September. They also want to go for October too with some new rumoured iPad announcements. I don't know if I'm able for that, Apple, but we'll wait and see. But yes, anyway, hello and welcome to Talking Technology episode 41. We have a great show lined up for you over the next hour or so. We're going to be talking to Hans from Be My Eyes. He'll be back on the podcast now that the new Be My AI feature has officially launched. It started its mass rollout. He spoke about that on the podcast before, but now that people have got to try it, it's even had its first controversy out of the way. We'll be talking to Hans to catch up on all of that, and later on in the show, a really exciting one because I've got my hands on the new iPhone 15 Pro. I bit the bullet, I upgraded, and I've been playing around with it. I was very lucky. I actually got it on launch day. So I've been able to play for it for over a week, nearly 2 weeks now, about a week and a half. And I've got some thoughts and we'll be chatting all about it, how the action button works with voiceover, all of these different things, my first experience with the dynamic island. We'll be talking about all of that later on in the show, and Joe will be joining us for that conversation too. So if you do want to join us or get involved in the show in any way, we'd really welcome your input. You can use the Q&A panel if you're joining us on Microsoft Teams, or maybe you're listening on NCBI Live or one of the catch-ups through the podcast apps or the YouTube channel. Then you can send an email to labs@ncbi.ie. So let's get down to business. Earlier today, I caught up with Hans from Be My Eyes, and he was telling us all about the whole new world that is Be My AI. We've talked a little bit about Be My AI on the podcast before. Hans was on the show only recently to tell us a little bit about the goings on over at Be My Eyes, but now the product is launched and Hans was back to tell us all about it. So here is the conversation I had with Hans earlier today to tell us all about the new Be My AI feature in Be My Eyes. So joining me today on Talking Technology, I am joined by Hans from Be My Eyes. Hans, how are you?
I am absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Fantastic. So it's been, I think it's fair to say, a busy time in Be My Eyes, Hans. You were only on the podcast not that long ago, but you've been a busy team over the last little while, and Be My AI has just launched. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how, the last, even 2 months have just been in Be My Eyes? It must have been a really busy time.
It has been extremely busy, and I think we have kind of accomplished more than we have ever accomplished in such a short time. So it has been, thanks to my team, we actually made it because it has been so much on their plate lately. So I'm super proud that they actually made it to this time. So that absolutely.
Fantastic. And so, Hans, for those who didn't maybe hear our previous podcast on the subject, do you want to briefly explain what Be My AI is?
Yes, Be My AI is a way where you can take a photo and the photo is automatically uploaded to OpenAI, and you will get a very detailed description back of the photo. And you can even ask further questions about details in the photo And beside that, you can upload existing photos from your photo library and have them described, and also ask further questions about that. And that's the very short version of Be My AI.
For sure. Awesome. Yeah, it's really been, I must say, even personally, I found it like an incredible tool, even just to share, yes, photos from the photo library. But a little known feature that I found useful is that you can share PDF documents into it, and it seems to manage them. If they're one-page documents, it seems to be able to manage them just fine, and it's able to provide descriptions of the PDF document, and you're able to ask follow-up questions. It's really quite an incredible tool you've built. And I guess the reaction when you started testing it has been, I think it's fair to say, quite incredible in terms of people really see the use case for this. Was that something you expected?
Well, we knew that we were onto something, but I mean, we have had for months this first batch of beta testers, and they have just been so creative in ways of using this that we would never have come up with. But you mentioned the PDF, but also the one of the things that I've been super excited about is its ability to describe graphs. So if you have a graph of something in a textbook, you can take a photo, and then Be My AI will describe what the graph is all about and how it is progressing and all that. And you can ask details for further details about the graph. And that is something we have never been able to do before in a meaningful way. And to be honest, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, for sure.
And people keep coming up with new ways to use this. So that's just amazing. Mm-hmm.
Now, there's been a massive amount of positive reaction, as I say, to the Be My AI tool, but there was a small little hiccup along the way around faces, and it's fair to say that I think there was a little bit, I think, of upset for a time in the visually impaired and blind community for a little while there, because for whatever reason, whether it was coming from, say, OpenAI or Be My Eyes, faces were being blurred. And this is something we talked about, actually, on the last time you were on the podcast. But faces were being blurred, and I think in some cases it was rejecting images of faces outright. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what actually happened there? But ultimately it's been resolved now. So how was that resolved in the end?
Well, first of all, I'm glad you're saying a little bit. It felt quite like a big thing, and it was.
For sure.
It was the whole feature was basically not functioning because I mean I'm blind and I have no idea if there is a face in the photo when I'm taking it, and that's just not workable. But we managed to make a solution. It's not a complete solution, and not a solution that I'm really proud of, because the whole issue is that in the state of Illinois there is a law that prohibit you to process pictures with faces to prevent you from making an app that can recognize people. We are not in any way recognizing people or identifying people, but we try to describe if they are sad or happy or whatever.
Yeah.
And that should be absolutely okay. But because of this old law, we had to kind of make a fence around the state of Illinois.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Which means the rest of the world can use this, but if you live in Illinois, you will still not be able to use Be My AI. Then you can say, well, there's not that many people in Illinois, but if you live in Illinois,
that's fairly frustrating for sure.
That's not a really good thing. So that's why I'm not super proud of this solution, but this was kind of the best we could do right now, and And now we are, which is something that I have never thought I should be engaged in, but we are actually trying to prevent or persuade the politicians in Illinois to kind of look into to this, I'm sure, unexpected consequence. I mean, this law is 10 or 15 years old, so they have never thought about OpenAI or all of this. And just to be clear, I would not want anybody to be able to take a picture of me and identify me on the street or anything. So we are absolutely also, we don't want them to change the law to allow everything to be done with your face out in the public. But we don't think it's fair that the blind people cannot get the same information that everybody else can kind of get from looking at a photo. So,
That's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting solution and a frustrating problem. You mentioned there, that it felt like a big thing. Was it? I guess was it disappointing for you to see the project that had been so successful, I guess, in many respects up to this point? It kind of took a bit of heat there for a while. And also, what was your experience like working through this challenge with OpenAI? Because I guess this is one of the bigger challenges that you faced, I guess, in the first phase of this project.
Yes. And maybe we were a little, but we felt that we were in a good place so we could add more people to the beta test. It is still a beta where you can expect kind of all kinds of changes and hiccups and so on. But we had at that time added, I think, 10,000 users. And basically to kind of scale up the test and see if it could kind of handle all the requests and all that, because we felt we were in a good place. And then, but I also totally understand OpenAI. I mean, they have been taking so much heat for all kind of things that they are doing and maybe not even doing, but they could potentially do with this technology and all that. So, of course, they are super, super careful about not breaking any laws. And that's exactly what they felt that, we have to kind of pull the handbrake a little here. Until our lawyers are totally on top of this. And that simply took a couple of weeks before they were comfortable doing what we're doing now. So
okay, fair enough. On a more positive note then, I guess Be My AI is rolling out now, or is pretty much there. It's really a really solid feature, and I'd recommend to anyone who hasn't tried it, give it a try now. You mentioned that it's still in beta pretty much, but what's the future looking like for this concept? Have you looked at things like, spinning it off into a separate standalone, even simpler app for those who, maybe younger users who might benefit for this? Are you looking at things like self-voicing? What's the future for something like Be My AI?
Well, first of all, we need to get the Android version up and running, which we are beta testing with a small group right now. And hopefully we can scale that up and have the beta version ready within a month or two. That is our main objective right now. And in this tech world that is moving so fast, so I basically think we will, when we have that ready, we will see where is the world at this point in time, and then, but hopefully we can do something. I have been very intrigued about Microsoft talking about their personal assistants, and I think this tool will be very, very helpful in a personal assistance world, and we will be looking into how we can position Be My Eyes in that process. But it's not something we're working on right now. But it's just a super interesting area.
For sure.
And also, we are running a test with Microsoft on specialized help. So when you call them, you can also use Be My AI in that process, simply to help the agents get more information. So if you are on a website and you have some questions about that, you can snap a photo, and then the agent will also be able to kind of see that photo and get the same feedback, and maybe you can get the answer of what you are asking even without talking to one of the Microsoft agents. We believe there is a huge future for customer support doing this, and also for blind people. There will still be, and there will always be, agents to talk to if you don't like to use this other technology. But for a lot of people, this is kind of a fun thing, and maybe even a more productive thing to do. So
for sure. Have you seen much of an uptick in users using sighted agents since the Be My AI feature has rolled out?
Well, we believe we need to have this running for a few weeks or more to kind of get numbers that we can kind of rely. I mean, we all know when something is new and exciting, then I can do this, and then. But what we really want to know is, let's say, in a month's time, when it is more a daily thing and it's not so new and shiny anymore. Yeah. Then we will look at the numbers and see if my expectation is that more people will be using Be My Eyes, simply because we have this new feature, and then they will realize, it's really great for this, but I also need the volunteers once in a while. So we don't expect the volunteers to get less calls, maybe even the opposite, because more people will be using Be My Eyes in general, and then they will also be using the volunteers once in a while. And one of the things that I'm really, really excited about is that we can see that some of the people who are using Be My AI the most are some of the people that were using the volunteers the least. So we have clearly found something that makes a lot of people comfortable, because they were maybe not so comfortable using the volunteers, but they are super comfortable using Be My AI.
Yeah.
And I think this will kind of have an effect both ways on the uses of volunteers, because you simply are using the app Be My Eyes more, and you get more accustomed to the whole environment that we are providing. So.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, I can certainly speak to that myself. I was, in all honesty, I didn't use the volunteer service all that much, but I've been certainly a heavy user of Be My AI. So that's certainly clear, which is awesome. I guess the final question then for now, Hans, and I'm sure we'll have more conversations about this as the technology develops. But what and how can people learn more about Be My AI? Where are you directing people to now?
We are our website, BeMyEyes.com. You can find all kinds of information and blog posts and so on. And of course, we are also on X and Facebook. But I think our website would be the main source for information. And then, of course, you're always welcome to send an email to info@BeMyEyes, and we will try to reply back. So,
Fantastic. Hans, thank you so much for joining us on Talking Technology once again. I think it's fair to say congratulations to you and the team. You really have built quite an incredible tool. And it's really exciting to see where it's going to go. So, congratulations and very best of luck for the future.
Thank you so much, and likewise.
So yeah, that is Be My AI. It's out now, so do check it out. You can just download the Be My Eyes app. It's all built into the one app. So download the Be My Eyes app on the App Store, and then there's a tab there for Be My AI. A really cool feature. And yeah, sure, there's absolutely been hiccups along the way, but it really, I think what is clear from that is they seem to be doing a really good job of at least trying to navigate through those issues and find solutions. Those solutions aren't perfect, and I think they admit that themselves. But yeah, it's great to see that it's back, it's doing well, and it's going to be exciting to see where that technology goes. A really, really cool one, and hopefully it'll be benefiting many blind and visually impaired people long into the future. Another tool in the toolbox can only be a good thing. So yeah, thanks so much to Hans for joining us from Be My Eyes. A really great conversation, and good to catch up there. So thank you to him for that. Now, on another note entirely, as I was saying at the start of the show, I have got my hands on the new iPhone 15 Pro. Yes, I decided to upgrade. And to chat all things iPhone 15 Pro, I am joined by Joe Lonigan to ask me a few questions about my first experience with it. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, hi, David. I'm going to ask you a few questions for a change.
I know. It's we're reversing roles here, which is great.
Yeah, cool. So, well, look, some of the questions I know the answer to, because I think you've been going on with this iPhone 15 Pro since you got it.
I think that's fair.
I don't know if you're just a fanboy, but I think. What are your first impressions of the item to someone that hasn't been talking to you already?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's fair to say that I have always been an Apple fan. Ordinarily, I think, if I'm being totally honest, I'd an iPhone 15 Pro before. And I've said this before, but the only reason I upgraded primarily was the storage. I just needed more storage. And everything after that was a bonus to me, really. I think I was looking forward to things like the action button in particular. I was looking forward to, and features like that I think had great potential, and I could see brilliant potential in those. But yeah, that wasn't, none of those features were why I upgraded. The reason I upgraded was purely for the storage. But now that I have the 15 Pro in my hand and I've been using it for the last week and a half, I've been relatively happy. Not absolutely perfect. There are a few things, and we can talk about that in a bit, but I've been relatively happy, I think it's fair to say. It's a solid upgrade. I don't think there's a need, like if you've got a 14, 13 or even a 12, I would say you could easily give this one a miss, wait it out a little bit. But it is a solid upgrade, and I've been happy enough with it, I must say.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask you, did you really need an upgrade? But it was just for memory then. The memory was your big, massive issue. You do a lot of recording, studio-wise, and audio editing and stuff like that, and you find the iPhone 15 Pro is really good for doing things like that.
So far, so good. Yeah, so I went with the 1 terabyte model. I was initially disappointed that, there wasn't a 2 terabytes. I was hoping that I could go for like a 2 terabytes, and that would hopefully got me, say, 5 years as opposed to maybe 3. But
okay.
I think generally I'm happy enough that this is now my phone for the next 3 or 4 years at least, and I'm happy enough with that. It's, for now at least, it's a solid phone. I've been happy initially. Yeah. Cool.
So 1 terabyte, I think that'll do me anyway, David. I don't think I'll ever go above that. For the regular user, I think 1 terabyte is going to be plenty. But this dynamic island, I've read a little bit about it. I've never used it, and not sure what it even looks like on the screen. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, for sure. So the dynamic island, this is my first experience with the dynamic island also. It was introduced in the 14, but I've never even actually seen the 14 Pro in person. So this has come to all of the iPhone 15 models, 15 and 15 Pro. And it's basically, to be honest with you, Joe, for someone who has no vision, you wouldn't even know it's there, really. It does have like a little section on it that is recognized by VoiceOver. It'll just say, Dynamic Island is empty, or whatever. But basically, let's say you, for example, start a timer or you're on a call or whatever. It'll put that information up in the Dynamic Island, and that basically, as far as VoiceOver is concerned, that effectively just acts as a quick shortcut to get you back to whatever app you're in. So, for example, if you're playing music, for example, or you're playing a podcast, that podcast will show up in the Dynamic Island, and then you can kind of at your finger up at the very top of the screen, alongside where you would have ordinarily had, the battery, the the time, all of those things. You have a piece in the center that is your Dynamic Island, and that will have, in this case, the music, and double tapping that will just bring you back into the music app or whatever you were using at the time, whether it's a call or a timer or whatever it is. But it's been an interesting experience. Is it a groundbreaking tool? No, but it's handy. I would say for low vision users, something to be aware of. I do think the colors for certain things. So, for example, when you were on a call before, there was a kind of a green color up in the top left corner there that would indicate that you could touch that to get back to where you were. When you were screen recording, there was a red color up in the top corner. Those are less pronounced now, I find, with the Dynamic Island. So it can be harder to see, for example, that yes, screen recording has started and things like that. But if that's not something you're doing on a regular basis, that should be fine. But it is one to be aware of, I guess.
Okay, so the jury is out on Dynamic Island for now, especially for VoiceOver users.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. What about battery life, David? That's a big question for any blind person using, we'll say, phones or watches with VoiceOver. And there is an issue, I suppose, anybody using iPhone SE or iPhone 8, you don't even get a full day out of it. What about the battery life on this, on a new iPhone 15 Pro? How are you getting on?
My battery life has been solid. I can't complain about the battery life. I would say I am, for the most part, getting the day out of it. I couldn't have said that now with my 12 Pro, but at the same time, the battery in that, it's received, 3-4 years of use at this point, and it's kind of, when you're charging it so often, it's going to wear down a little bit, but I've been happy. I can't honestly complain about the battery life. It's been decent. Is it exceptional? No. But it's certainly manageable. And I guess, it's also not any faster when it comes to charging or anything. But does it last a decent length of time? For me, it does. I've gotten the day out of it. But I guess that will depend on usage too, You're
a heavy user of a phone as well, David, aren't you? In fairness,
I am.
A day is probably a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I'm also I'm low vision, so I do use it at full brightness. So I probably do put it under a bit of pressure now at times, but I haven't had a massive, I haven't noticed any major battery drain. I've been happy enough with it.
Okay, so you were talking about charging it there. There's a new USB-C connector at the bottom. Have you found any more uses for that, microphone-wise, or do you find it, I'm not sure, I think you said it doesn't charge any faster, but maybe it might be easier to find chargers going forward when you go to a pub or something and you're running out of energy, So
yeah,
how do you find USB-C?
Do you know what? For me, it's been interesting. I think I've noticed no benefits really in the charging front, at least yet. It can, if you wanted to, charge things like your AirPods or your Apple Watch through the phone's port and it can act effectively like a power bank.
That's a cool feature now.
It's a cool feature, but in all honesty, Joe, it's one I haven't found myself using in the real world. Because I like being realistic, I'm going to have the Apple Watch charger connected to the actual brick, so I'm going to unplug it and just plug it into my phone instead. It just hasn't made sense. It's cool that it's there, but it's not something I've found myself using really. I do see benefits in it in the sense that I was able to connect some of the audio equipment here. We do the podcast using a Rodecaster here, which is basically like an audio mixing desk. And I was able to connect that via USB-C to the phone, and I've been able to record directly to the phone. So, for example, we did a short on YouTube last week just showing off what you can do with the action button. And I actually recorded that directly to the phone, where traditionally I would record that to the MacBook, the laptop here, and then toss it from there over to the phone to do the edit on it. But I was able to cut out the middleman, which was nice, I guess. But yeah, it's been good. I haven't noticed any like game-changing features.
Okay.
But it is
okay.
Good.
So that's great. What about you mentioned the action button there? We'll move on to the action button. Can you tell us how do you feel about this action button? Do you find you have found a few actions for the action button, or do you see it having a lot of potential down the line?
I do see it having a lot of potential, to be honest, but I think it's going to be a case that Apple are going to have to build on it. So the action button is located where the old mute-unmute switch was. It's just above the volume buttons there. And you can basically have this do anything. By default, it has the option for like things like, the torch or the camera or an accessibility feature, including voiceover. But you can set it up to actually, I guess you can set it up in a way to run a shortcut. So if you create a shortcut in the Shortcuts app, the action button is then able to do that. It can run a shortcut. So for example, you could have it run a smart home routine or something like that. I have, after a little bit of toing and froing, I've gone back towards using it for voiceover. So at the moment, that's what I've got set on my phone. If I just hold the action button, it will turn on voiceover. It's really snappy, really responsive. But I do have one big criticism with it, and that's that you can't have multiple actions with it. And I spoke about this more in an article on the NCBI website and newsletter, but it's frustrating because there are so many use cases for this, and that's its greatest strength, but also its greatest weakness, because the action button, for example, I'd set it up to turn on and off lights. I'd set it to, turn on and off voiceover. I would have loved to have set it up to actually just start an Apple Watch workout, for example, just little quick actions like that. But I've had to just pick one. I think it's a brilliant feature, but I think it's artificially limited by software, and I'd hope that gets fixed in the future. But it has tempted me that next time I upgrade to a new Apple Watch, which I don't think is going to be today or tomorrow, let me be clear on that, but next time I do, I will get one with an action button, because I think it's a feature that, while it's not being fully utilized, I think, to its true potential now, it is a feature with great potential, and it has been very snappy and responsive, which I like.
Okay. Well, you have expensive taste, Dave, I must say. Okay, right. So size, does size matter, as they say? What about screen size, David? Is it any good for someone with a vision impairment, or does it fit nice in the pocket even?
So I didn't go with the Pro Max, which is the biggest option here. They do actually recommend that one for some people with low vision, because you can get things bigger and get more on screen. You said I have expensive taste there, Joe, and that might be true, but this one was to upgrade to the Pro Max. I think would have been just a little bit too much for me personally. I didn't see the value in that for me. But I've been happy with the size of the one I've got. It's 6.1 inches screen. It's barely noticeable if there's any difference at all between this and the 12 Pro that I had before.
Okay.
But it's a decent size. It fits well in the pocket. When you're holding it, now I have slightly, my hands would be a decent size, but I did feel comfortable holding it, that my fingers can kind of naturally enough rest on the power button for triple clicking voiceover on and off, and crucially now also the volume and action buttons. But sits in the pocket well, comfortably enough. It's not too big. I think, I know they recommend that the Pro Max or the iPhone 15 Plus are the best options for those with low vision. But for me, A, I couldn't justify the cost, and B, I think, to be honest, I think that's almost a bit too big for me. But
yeah, you might need it. You might need a man bag to carry it around, David.
Yeah, you might, and I can just imagine, like, especially if you're carrying multiple things in a pocket. Like usually, I'd carry my phone and one of those handheld magnifiers at the same time.
Yeah.
And
so did you buy a case for it, David? Is it bigger? Like with the case, is it even bigger?
I got a thin enough case. I went actually with one of the OtterBox cases. I've been really impressed with OtterBox before, but I'll be honest, I'm disappointed this time, Joe, because the button, where, say, the power button is, I triple click that a lot, probably easily, if I'm being honest, like 100 times a day to turn voiceover on and off. I really use that button a lot. And it's important. It's important to have that fluid, isn't it? It is, and I haven't found that to be the case this time around. With this case now. This is no reflection on the phone itself, but the case I've been disappointed with. The button is a little wobbly, and I found that it's hitting 99.9% of the time, but there's times when you'll triple click and then all of a sudden it only recognizes 2 clicks, and all of a sudden your Apple Pay pops up, and it's like, I didn't want that. I'd really be interested if people do have like recommendations for really high quality cases, in particular if you use the the buttons there quite a lot. I'd be really interested in people's recommendations here. Actually, I've been looking. I did have a case from a company called Moose before, but they're really expensive, and I don't want to go down that road again. I don't want to spend a fortune on a case. It's just like, I get you. No. Yeah, I like the silicone ones myself, but they don't always suit some people. Especially if you want the extra protection. So that's cases covered. Who would you recommend this phone to, David? What kind of user? Maybe it's hard because it's a great phone. It's very the phone I went is the high end model, but I would say I'm quite an advanced user when it comes to the phone. Like, I think that if you have a 14, 13, 12, or even an 11, I don't know, is there really a need for you to upgrade, to be honest? As I say, if it wasn't for the storage, I probably wouldn't have upgraded. If you're buying a new iPhone and you have a reason to get a new iPhone anyway and you can afford it, it's a good option. But is there anyone who I would say it's not for? It doesn't have Touch ID. That's one to note, of course. But other than that, I think it's a solid phone. It's hard to find a category, I think, that wouldn't have a benefit for the phone. The Siri is really good if that's your thing, but it's a little overkill for that. Maybe the 14 is still for sale and you can get it cheaper. But yeah, it's a decent phone, and I've been happy with it for sure.
Okay, and so would any of the accessibility features, the new ones, we'll say, like assistive access or any of the other accessibility features, push you to recommend it to anybody?
Do you know what's interesting? I think, like, with the likes of assistive access, for example, that's available on some of the older phones too. So it's not a reason, I would say, to jump to a 15 if you don't have a 15 already. There are some good benefits for like the LiDAR, uses for the LiDAR. So things like point to speak, things like that are quite cool. I to be honest with you, I haven't found myself using them massively, maybe as much as I would, because realistically, things like Seeing AI and now Be My AI are out there, and they're, in my view, a little bit more efficient than having to actually like point at something. Cool that it's there, but I haven't found myself using it a whole lot. I'm interested to see if this technology all develops, but the accessibility features in it, they're the same pretty much as on any of the newer phones, at least for now. Maybe we'll see new features in a year or two that'll only work on the 15 or 15 Pros, but so far, it's decent.
Optical zoom, David,
new.
5 times optical zoom for the magnifier. Would that benefit low vision people, do you think?
It may do, but you see, I only got that. You have to get the 15 Pro Max then, so I don't have
that's the next one up. Okay,
that's the you need the big one. You can't get that on the smaller phone, which I think is kind of frustrating. But it's it's a great benefit, especially as you say, if you're using the magnifier and so on. And by all accounts, I've heard reviews are good, but it's not something I have on my phone, or not something I've been able to try.
Hey, David, thanks very much. That was a very comprehensive review of the iPhone 15 Pro. And you also wrote us an article about the new quick action button, which you can read in our the last version of our newsletter. Thanks very much, David.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, are you tempted to upgrade at all, or what phone do you have, Joe? Would you be tempted to?
I have a 12, yeah. I don't think I'm... I'll watch this space for another while. I'm happy with the 12 for now. And I also have an 8 here as well with the Touch ID on it. So, yeah, I think I'm happy enough at the moment. The 8 is kind of running out of steam, all right. But the 12 is going well, and I'm happy enough with it.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, it's a good phone. I'm happy with the upgrade, and I hope to get a few good years out of it. But... yeah, it's good as well to treat yourself every once in a while, but by no means essential. It's a great phone, don't get me wrong, but there are plenty of lower options in the list there that may be more affordable and better options for some people. But it's personal choice. You kind of have to judge your needs for yourself. So yeah, Joe, thank you so much for that. We'll move on to talking technology news in just a few minutes. But if you do want to get in touch with us, ask any questions about maybe the new action button, or maybe you want to share your experience. If you're joining us live, you can do so using the Q&A panel here on Teams, or if you're joining us on NCBI Live or one of the catch-ups via the podcast apps or YouTube, you can email labs@ncbi.ie. And if you need support, you can always call the NCBI Labs help desk. The number you need for that is 1-800-911-110. That's 1-800-911-110. Any question, we'll really try and help you out. We'd be happy to help. So do feel free to give us a call if you need to. So with that said, let's move on to talking technology news, shall we?
This is Talking Technology News.
Thank you, David. And with your latest Talking Technology News, I'm Daniel Dunn. So, first up today, would you pay for Alexa? Senior Vice President of Devices and Services at Amazon, Dave Limp, has told Bloomberg that Amazon thinks that in the near future, its Alexa voice assistant will offer enough value that customers will be willing to pay a subscription fee to use it. At a recent tech event, Amazon announced a number of new Alexa Power products, but they also introduced a number of new subscription services to add features to Alexa. Some of these features were once available for free as part of functionality like Alexa Guard, but now they seem to be transitioning towards a paid model for premium Alexa features. We don't know when and how Amazon will do this, but it would likely mark a new era in the world of smart assistant devices which have traditionally struggled to make profits. If you want to learn more about some of the new products coming from Amazon, you can check out the article Joe wrote on the subject on the NCBI website, ncbi.ie. Secondly, Apple have responded to overheating concerns affecting the new iPhone 15. In a statement to Forbes, Apple said, we have identified a few conditions in which can cause the iPhone to run warmer than expected. The device may feel warmer during the first few days after setting up or restoring the device because of increased background activity. Apple plans to roll out an update to fix the issue soon, with some third-party app developers already rolling out updates to make their apps run a little bit cooler. The iPhone 15 has been receiving generally positive reviews, so Apple will be disappointed that some overheating is bringing bad publicity to an otherwise good launch. Our own David has been using the iPhone 15 Pro for a while now without any overheating issues, but it's still an interesting problem to be aware of. Finally, for now, OpenAI have introduced GPT Vision, which is the tool used by Be My AI to process images. This means that some developers should now be able to create their own tools based on the technology, meaning that the Be My AI concept may have some competition in the future. It is reported that this tool can't recognize faces, an issue which Be My Eyes have now solved, and it also struggles to solve captions, which is by design, as that's not something OpenAI want their tool to be used for. The rate of change in this industry, I suppose, is something quite exceptional. So we'll have to wait and see what the future holds for this exciting technology that is already starting to have many impacts for those with sight loss. And that's it for now, but you can find more technology news in the NCBI Labs Technology newsletter published every Friday and on the NCBI Labs YouTube channel. For now, it's back to you, David.
Thank you, Daniel. Will you be paying for Alexa?
It's
tough,
probably
isn't
not.
it?
No, I think I've enough to be paying the company with my Prime subscription. Do they really need more?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was thinking about this, doing up the news script for earlier on, and it's a really interesting one. I think, to be honest, I'd move over to Siri. I'd be ditching them at that point. And I think, yes, I understand that Alexa has massive value, but they're also not the only option there anymore, So
no.
it would depend on the price,
Assistant,
I guess.
is on all the Android phones. You have Siri on your iPhone. It's another one. It's another thing to pay for. You have your Amazon Prime. You probably have some music, Spotify subscription.
And you're probably paying for
pricey?
things like Audible and all these things as well. So you're just adding subscriptions upon subscriptions. And I think there's a limit with that, and I think we might be reaching it. I do have one HomePod. It's a decent product and one that has improved with software updates. So if they started charging, it would depend on the price, because we have a good few Alexa speakers, and it would be a tough pill to swallow if they just all stopped working in the morning. I'd be interested to see the legalities around that, but that's a different matter. But in theory, if they did start charging, I don't know, would I just be handing over my money blindly? I think it's an interesting topic for sure.
And I suppose it's something that's going to test the waters, and if they do pop in a subscription, like we all know, these subscriptions that start off for very small money, but within 3-4 years they're ratcheted up, they're doubled, and it's kind of the sneaking creep of it. It gets in at the start, small thing. You say, sure, that's only a couple of pence, not even the price of a cup of coffee. But It does climb and climb and climb. They never come down in price.
It's true. And even, I guess you could look at those small, subscriptions from that Amazon event in a similar way. They announced a subscription if you want to have photos displayed on your Echo Show devices. They've removed some of the free functionality from Alexa Guard. So, yeah, it's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, and it's not as if Amazon are short on a few pound.
I thought they were poor enough now, Daniel. Are you telling me Amazon has money?
I think they have more money than a couple of countries combined.
Oh, wow. Crazy stuff. Daniel, thank you so much for that. Much appreciated. As always, it's a crazy world. I think that would be a tough pill to swallow, though. If Alexa was like, "Give me money," I'd be like, "No, Alexa, sorry, Alexa, stop." So yeah.
Why don't you have kids, David?
I know.
Just another one looking for money.
It's true. I intend to wait a few years, but who knows? We'll see. But yeah, so thank you, Daniel, for that. We have some more stuff for you in coming up in the show in a bit. But tell us as well, maybe send us a message on social media. Send it to the NCBI accounts. Would you be willing to pay for Alexa? I think it's a really an interesting one, because I think a lot of people, visually impaired people, I think in particular, actually, are invested quite deep in the Alexa ecosystem. So it's an interesting one. And adding that expense, it's a tough pill to swallow. But there you go. Companies will want their money, I guess. So that will be that. Now, on
to Joe. Is Joe there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Would you pay for it,
I'm
Joe?
here. Would I pay for it? No, I wouldn't. You keep asking me to buy stuff, lads. I don't know. I won't buy a new iPhone 15. Yes, I won't pay for Alexa. People are going to start thinking I'm tight at this stage. No, seriously, I wouldn't pay for. I think, to me, an assistant, as long as it works and can access some other apps and tools like even Google or the Apple HomePod, as David said, I'd find another way of using one of the other products if I had to pay for another subscription, unless there was something there that was going to really keep me there. I know they have some new features coming out, generative AI, which makes it they had to get on the AI bandwagon. Of course, they spent $4 billion on a company to join the AI group, and they're going to start putting more conversational things into Alexa, I won't keep saying that word, into their speakers, and you'll be able to have a conversation without even saying the wake word soon, especially with the Echo Shows. And it will also have things like it'll be able to show emotions in smart speaker's voice, and it'll show you empathy when your team loses and all that kind of stuff. And I think that mode is going to be called Let's Chat, and it's available to preview in America soon, but probably won't be over here for another 5 to 6 months by the sounds of it.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But yeah, I wonder, will they charge for just the whole of Alexa, or maybe just those features? We'll have to wait and see. But lads, thank you for telling me all about that crazy stuff. Let's move on to quick picks, shall we?
It's time for NCBI Labs Quick Picks.
And to tell us all about a really cool product that I've never come across before. I've heard about these a lot, but I've never actually seen or used one. To tell us about the Tony boxes, I'm joined by Joe. Joe, what is the Tony box? Tell me about this.
Yeah, well, we don't always speak on this about specific products for people with vision impairments, but this is a universal product, mostly for kids, so it's an audio box, an audio player, for want of a better word, interactive Tony box, and you can buy figurines to put on top of it, and when you place the figurine on top and you press the button, you will hear the device speak out, and you'll hear that tone noise. You might have heard it come across there. That's the sound of the box coming on. And then when I take the figure off the box, it stops playing. I put it back on, it starts playing, and I can turn it up, and it makes that noise. And it plays your stories or your music or whatever. And I'm just going to take it off again, stop it playing. And also, you can It's really fun. You can bang the side of it to go to the next track. You bang the right-hand side to go forward, bang the left-hand side to go back, that kind of thing. It's really easy to turn up and down the volume with the 2 ears on the top. It's fairly unbreakable. It's soft. It feels like, I suppose, when you put your elbow on your couch, it feels like that kind of softness, you know. It's probably 4 inches high. It's a box, basically, a square. So it's 4 or 5 inches high and 4 or 5 inches wide, that kind of size. Nice and light. It's rechargeable. And the big thing about it is you get an app, a Tony's app, and you can download audio onto the Tony's app up to 90 minutes long. So I can record stories into it for my, as a visually impaired dad, I can record stories into it for my kid and my kids, and they can play them whenever they want. Or even when I'm away from home, if I was away from home for a night, I could record a story into the app. They could put the special Tony with the stories on it, the one that I record into, onto the top and play them away, you know. So that's the really cool feature about it, David, I think.
That's class. I must say, I think that's really, really cool. We were talking about these in the office the other day, and I know that they're designed for kids, but I can see so many use cases like that. Like, imagine if you were to use that for like distribution of audiobooks, or even like there's adult benefits for these too. Like, just pop the thing on and there's your, you know, Irish Times, you're the Independent. That's so cool. I find that, I don't know, that's really impressive to me.
It is cool. It's probably an unusual way of getting your Irish Times, but yeah, it's an idea, David.
You put your
I think it's really good for visually impaired kids as well,
on the top.
if they wanted to take it on.
Yeah, that's really cool though. Are there many like figurines come with it?
Loads of different figurines. Obviously, the one I just played there was Cocomelon. It's the first one I picked up. But there's loads of Disney stuff and Pinocchio, and there's loads of science for the older kids with maybe 7 or 8 years of age. You can get stuff on science and nature and that kind of stuff. I forget the exact names of them, but that's the kind of things you can get. Sorry? Are
they sold separately then?
Yeah, they're sold separately, and they range from about 15 to 20 euros, the little figurines. You can be bought in your common shops like Arnott's and things like that, and you can buy them online as well. But there is one, I suppose, caveat I'd put on the app has got a little bit less accessible since I started using it. I suppose I should give feedback to them, and when I get time, I'm going to give feedback and send them an email and let them know some of the buttons aren't labelled the way they should be. I found a way around it by putting files in the file section of the iPhone and syncing them over, but that's not always perfect. So yeah, I would hope they'd improve their app and make that a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, for sure. That's a fascinating product. And you were saying as well that there's another option as well from, I think you were mentioning that this is from Google, is it?
No, this is a new company called Storybud, and it's in the US at the moment, and they are expanding on. They have really pumped a lot of money into this now, and they've bought different publishers of children's books. This, I suppose, the idea behind this is to keep kids off of screens. It's a screenless device, fairly simple. I don't have one here in my hand, but it's supposed to be a simple interactive device that you can only have a small number of buttons on. I think you can place memory sticks into it and stuff like that. Special ones from the Storybud company. It comes with lots of books and stories preloaded onto it as well. And I suppose it will become a competitor of the Tony box in time to come. So yeah, Storybud is the other option. Just keep your ears peeled for Storybud down the line. Tony box and Storybud.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah, but Tony box at the moment, I really think it's a really great product, especially if you have kids and if you are a blind parent and you want to record stories onto it. I think it's a great product.
Even for a visually impaired child, I can see a lot of benefits for it. Really, really cool stuff. Joe, thank you so much for that. Just
to mention, the characters are very tactile as well. So if you were to get the hang of what Peppa Pig felt like, or any of the other stories that you might have picked out, so Pinocchio will be an easy one.
Yeah,
have a long nose, so yeah, you know what I mean. You will be able to pick your stories out fairly easily and place them on top of the Tony box.
That's awesome. Joe, thank you so much for telling us about that. Really, really cool product there. I might have to treat myself to a Tony box for Christmas. It's a really cool product. Are they expensive, Joe?
The last time I seen it was $89.99, so €90.
Pricey yokes, but still might be worth it. As I say, maybe you have visually impaired kids or you're visually impaired.
You can get packages which you get a couple of figurines, which brings down the price slightly, and you can also buy a cover or a carrier for.
Okay, interesting. Good to know. Joe, thank you so much for telling us about that. A really, really cool product there. And always cool to see toys and things like that are built around the concept of sound. Always fascinated me that, actually. And the Tony box sounds like it's a really cool option out there. Really good to know. So that is it for this episode of Talking Technology. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back once again in 2 weeks' time with more Talking Technology news, quick picks, and who knows what we'll be chatting about. We'll have loads coming up in 2 weeks' time. Thanks so much to everyone for joining us on the podcast today. As I say, we'll be back soon. If you do want to get in touch with us over the next little while, you can send an email to labs@ncbi.ie. Give us a call, 1-800-911-110. There's loads of stuff there that we do in NCBI Labs Technology Clubs. We've got an exciting new courses for Vodafone High Digital. If you want to learn more about that, just give us a call and we'll be happy to tell you all about it. But so much going on in the world of NCBI Labs, and we really do appreciate you giving some of your time to listen to Talking Technology, and we hope you've enjoyed it over the last hour or so. That is it for us for now, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to the Talking Technology podcast with NCBI Labs. If you would like to support our show, you can visit donate.ncbi.ie. The NCBI Labs Talking Technology podcast is proudly sponsored by IA Labs, the market leader in the provision of digital accessibility services.